I don't remember the day when my grandmother died. I loved her a lot, but what I recall from that day is that my diet didn't fit my blood type, and I never cared about that diet. I learned to accept failures, you see. The words to say to die and to diet are suspiciously alike, though, aren't they? To die and to diet. That's fun. And that's what we'll be doing in this series, to leave design apart, to stretch it to the point where perhaps we might not talk about it in its full extension in the end. The role of the mediator, the catalyst, the designer, all of the social psychology behind the kerning and doing perfect rags and anthropological typesetting and the social anxiety and the champagne in New York. You see, that cool shit, we might not talk about it. It would be so nice to celebrate spring or autumn by saying hello to a vendor at the market. And it could also make a beautiful frame for a movie. There are different tastes to things, sweet, bitter, acidic, sour, windy, I don't know, pork chop, spicy. Yeah, man, spicy, man. Yesterday, João served me a great Asian dish at Guela, and man, he knows how to cook. When he was making it, he was asking me if I ever had it before, and I hadn't, and he didn't either. And we laughed about how that makes a great chef, to do it from gut instinct. That if we both had something to compare it to, it would make us learn, but it would equally strip us out of the joy of discovering shit. I found that to be an original emotion, being that both of us are mediators of different areas. A designer might not know the full nature of what they're serving, just as a chef might not trust their gut instinct to get to the raw nature of what he's trying to cook. I mean, I thought this was cool, and we talked about our insecurities and the emotional nature of our restlessness, about not caring too much about what should be, but rather what it might be, That's fun, and it annoys me, man. It annoys me how solemn it is to write or to talk about design. It's a discipline, but it just annoys me. It doesn't feel real, It doesn't strike me as sincere. It mediates shit, and what it does is problem solve, at the very least, but what about the authenticity of it? There are just so many people, right? There are people walking around, talking to each other, visually igniting the contexts, in the public space, and going to bed every day and waking up groggy, doing the things that feel right and wrong, and thinking about culture now that we are all cultural agents. And we talk about this all the time. People are a subject to me. They are a thing. I materialize them as much as I find them interesting to see. Little people going about their business, getting mad and laughing and making fun jokes at work. It's exciting when they appear, Feeling sorry for the mistakes that they've made and missing people when they disappear. These people, man, people are very visual to me. How do we think? How do we laugh? What do we laugh to, What do we talk when we enjoy shit? Seeing patterns and identifying them in the things that we do every day, paying attention to how do we say, hey, how's it going? In the streets, in Zoom calls and Skype. So when we're talking about design, it really annoys me. Reading about it, sometimes it's equally boring. The drama is about what it is, and very rarely about what it does. I find it so much more amusing to figure out what it is not, There is such an identity crisis because, a bottle, a carrier, a medium, all of these things are empty on their own. A leaf, a shell, a net, a sling, a sack, a bottle, a pot, a box. These are containers, holders. A recipient, as a designer, there are fantastic objects for collecting, carrying, ways of walking and sharing the stuff of living. If we don't behave like this, like carriers, then we are extremely defective as authors, or perhaps we might not be authors at all. I prefer these words, the author. A designer is empty, like, a bottle. The world outside is then fulfilling, but that's another question. I started by answering the last question of these kind of podcasts, and let's leave what fits inside design to the last episode of this conversation, right? Shit, I prefer apple juice, man. I prefer pineapple juice to apple juice. That is a nice juice. Almost as good as apple juice, but it has that acidity, right? It's like the acid side of the elements. Like in music, when the bass is too loud at a concert that fucks up the tune, I really enjoy that shit. That's my favorite side of live music. And and acid pineapples are like that too. They've recently built an installation where people can sit around in the city, and they made it with scaffoldings. There is no fruit there; it's only in the cocktails. But scaffoldings are are great ways to mask buildings, and why shouldn't they house people too? It's beautiful to turn our daily lives into conversation and into scaffolding material. I mean, that's a symbol. I really enjoy small talk, I find small talk really uplifting. Salmon prices went up like 47%. Chicken price went up 27%. You see, we learn a lot from small talk, and it is hard to make an income, and all of this is very, very visual. Hearing people talk about supermarket crisis. I say hello to everyone in the streets nowadays. My memory is lousy for a teacher, and I also get lost whenever I'm abroad too. I know where the ocean is. I brag a little about knowing where is north and west, and I guess that's the least you'd expect from the son of a geographer. But I feel bad about not remembering people. I feel warm when someone says hello to me, so I do it too. And there is an echo to this. I then wonder who they are. Usually I feel bad, but then I get it, and it's often too late when I remember them. But there are always moments that happen too late, and I became very fond of appreciating this. I made peace with it. I grew onto appreciating these small moments of not even small talk, I grew to consider them little places of escapism. They create well-being for everyone. And then eventually one becomes part of the world of others. And probably I too am a stranger to a large number of neighbors. And now we all say hello to each other. It isn't that much of a great party, but it's great to say hello every morning and feel like we network over a neighborhood. And I really enjoy that thing, because some people really inspire me, and usually are the ones who are not providing a point. Those are the ones that excite me the most. They give you a window to pure forms of being. It always amazed me to figure out what people do in the morning. Exactly how do they wake up? It has nothing to do with how fragile they seem. It is the transparency of it. It's their translucent nature, I also enjoy the semiotics of things, partially because we can't pin their meaning as a whole. Stuff is it's ambiguous. The ambiguity of stuff amazes me just as much as how people take their coffee in the morning. It isn't to say that there is an emotional nature to caffeine, but But it does help when someone is hungover, and it also makes you smile, or it gives you the strength to wrap up your sheets in your bed. And for me, this is a trigger to the first cigarette, to look out the window, to dance a little, to say some random shit to the seagulls, and if I'm alone and lonely, then I'll pop one anxiety pill. And the supermarket always puts happy faces on people, no? Happy faces, and happy type faces too. But that isn't the visual grammar of happiness. That's kind of a, they put these things, but it's more like a friend not caring too much about you and just letting go. It is way more interesting for me to see how do they wake up, unclothed. The truth can be very vulnerable. And then the importance of stories, building from the most minimal parts. Opinions will be then required, in a conversation, but without the weight of conflict. It's these little things, the superficiality of laughter, to where humor might feel a little uncomfortable, a little unsexed, but clothed at the same time. This is the ambiguity that makes the symbols. And I think the elements of typographic style, they forgot how to include these tiny rainy bits. And I also don't run away from the rain. You can always shower after. Why would you run away from it? Or maybe you just look sexy or busy. It was cold when I was 5, and when grandma would say that rain would make me sick. And fuck it, I used to say it. And I still do that now. And I think we would laugh together about this, and just the same, she wouldn't care about design either.